He is among few people that I would trust to be alone with my son and daughter. Those words, right there. Let them sink in. A man who said that about that person is now being named in leaked journals as Jeffrey Epstein's personal Hollywood handler.
Jeffrey used him heavy, especially early on. When he was just starting out, he had to kill to get his shot at stardom.
And now, the man those words allegedly describe is scrambling to save a career that's already in flames.
Ashton Kutcher and Diddy before. And they were speaking about Brittany Murphy. And I don't think I ever told this story, and I'm about to tell this story here. While he was married to Demi Moore, he was still sneaking around seeing Brittany Murphy. You understand? We were going to a Nets game. So we picked him up, and he was explaining to Diddy that every time he goes to Brittany's house, paparazzi always catches him or almost catch him coming out her apartment or coming out the building. And Diddy was telling him that's either the doorman or your security. And he was still married to Demi Moore at the time. Because it's crazy how they said her and Kim and some other individual with them or around them all died of pneumonia, and they were in perfect.
3 clips, 3 separate sources. One name keeps coming up, Ashton Kutcher. And today, because of Danny Masterson's alleged leaked journals, that name is about to mean something very different than it ever has before. But here's what nobody is connecting. What Danny wrote down. Let's start at the beginning, or rather, at what may be the end. Danny Masterson is currently sitting inside a California prison, serving 30 years to life after being convicted on 2 counts of rape. His career is over. His freedom is gone. His name is permanently attached to one of Hollywood's ugliest scandals. But before all of that happened, Masterson apparently kept journals, and those journals have allegedly been leaked. Now, we need to be clear about something right up front. These journals have not been officially verified by law enforcement or confirmed by any court, but the details inside them, the names, the specifics, the connections, are too precise, too layered, and too consistent with already documented evidence to simply dismiss. Because what Masterson allegedly wrote down doesn't just implicate himself, it implicates Ashton Kutcher, not as a passive bystander, not as someone who looked the other way. According to the rumors surrounding these journals, Masterson named Ashton Kutcher as an industry gatekeeper for Jeffrey Epstein's network, someone who helped Epstein operate inside Hollywood, someone who actively protected the network and its members from exposure, a handler, a recruiter, a fixer. Think about what that actually means for a second, because this isn't just gossip. This isn't just internet speculation. If these journals are real, and that's still an if, this represents potentially the most damaging document to surface from inside Hollywood's inner circle since the Epstein files themselves were released. And the reason this hits differently than other rumors about Ashton Kutcher, because Masterson was there. He wasn't some distant observer. He was one of Kutcher's closest, longest-running friends, a man Kutcher trusted so deeply that he wrote a letter to a judge, calling him one of the few people he would trust alone with his own children. So when Masterson allegedly writes about what Kutcher was doing, he's not speculating from the outside. He's writing from inside the room. That's what makes this terrifying. The rat pack, the ranch, and the rot underneath. To understand what's in these journals and why it matters, you have to understand the friendship between Danny Masterson and Ashton Kutcher. These two didn't just work together on that 70s show. They didn't just share a set for 8 seasons. They were deeply, personally intertwined in a way that Hollywood friendships rarely are. Close enough that they had a name for their group. Close enough that their social lives, their professional lives, and allegedly their private lives all overlapped completely.
We took a night off a week. We took a night off. We had to shoot our show.
One night off a week.
Yeah, you know, you got to get some sleep.
But he knew, like, he'd been here, like, grew up in the whole thing here. And this was like pre-TMZ, pre-cell phone camera. So Yeah. you could like go out.
Pre-TMZ, pre-cell phone cameras. That line right there, that's not nostalgia. That's a description of an era where powerful men in Hollywood could do anything and nobody would have the receipts. No cameras, no timestamps, no accountability. And Danny Masterson and Ashton Kutcher were living their best lives inside that window of invisibility. Their crew, which also included Sean Combs, better known as Diddy, called themselves the Rat Pack. They moved through Hollywood's party scene like they owned it. Clubs, private events, industry gatherings. They weren't just friends, they were a unit. And now, 2 members of that unit are behind bars. Diddy, currently facing federal charges for and a laundry list of other accusations. Masterson, already convicted and sentenced to 3 decades in prison for rape. And Ashton Kutcher, the last man standing, the one who keeps saying he didn't know anything. But here's where the story starts to crack open, because Kutcher's claims of ignorance don't line up with what he himself said publicly. He wrote those character letters. He described Masterson as a role model who kept him away from Hollywood's destructive lifestyle. He called him one of the few people he would trust alone with his kids.
Aware of the pain that has been caused by the character letters that we wrote on behalf of Danny Masterson.
We support victims. We have done this historically through our work and will continue to do so in the future.
A couple months ago, Danny's family reached out to us and they asked us to write character letters to represent the person that we knew for 25 years.
Notice what he said there. The person that we knew for 25 years. 25 years of friendship. 25 years of knowing this man. And Ashton Kutcher wants us to believe that in all of that time, across 25 years of late nights, private conversations, shared industry connections, and mutual friends like Diddy, he never saw anything, never heard anything, never knew anything. That's not a defense. That's a storyline. And now Danny Masterson's alleged journals suggest it was exactly that. A carefully maintained storyline designed to protect both of them. The emails, the assistant, and the underage girl. Here's the thing about the claim that Ashton Kutcher was connected to Jeffrey Epstein's network. It didn't start with these journals. The connection was already there, already documented, already sitting inside the publicly available Epstein files for anyone paying close enough attention. Because inside those files, there are emails. Emails that involve Kutcher's team, emails that involve Ghislaine Maxwell, and emails that detail arrangements for an underage girl to visit the set of Kutcher's television show, Punk'd Let That Settle for a Moment. According to reporting based on the Epstein files, emails were exchanged through Kutcher's assistant that attempted to set up meetings involving Ghislaine Maxwell, the woman who is currently serving 20 years in federal prison for trafficking. These emails included detailed logistics for a young girl and her father to visit the Punk'd set, a set tour, a meeting with Kutcher himself, possibly a meal, specific arrival instructions, contact numbers, meeting points, all coordinated through Kutcher's production infrastructure. Ellie Halsman, who had previously worked for Miramax and later worked for Kutcher's production company, was reportedly assigned to greet this girl and speak with her about acting now. On its own, you could try to explain this away. Maybe Kutcher didn't know. Maybe his assistant acted independently. Maybe the emails were misinterpreted. But that explanation gets a lot harder to maintain when you layer it on top of everything else. When you add the Masterson friendship, when you add the Diddy connection, when you add the alleged journals naming him as a gatekeeper, when you add what witnesses say they've seen and heard, because this is no longer one isolated email chain. This is a pattern.
Jane, I was one of Jeffrey's girls. 18 when they pulled me in. I'm done keeping quiet. There is this big Hollywood actor, you know, the pretty boy every teen girl's obsessed with. Jeffrey used him heavy, especially early on.
Now, full transparency here. The voice in that clip raises legitimate questions. The delivery is unusual. It could be scripted. It could be AI generated. It could be a genuine testimony from someone protecting their identity. We genuinely cannot confirm its authenticity, and any responsible analysis has to acknowledge that. But here's what we can say. This alleged testimony is consistent with documented evidence already in the public record. The emails exist. The Maxwell connection exists. The Punk'd set arrangements exist. The alleged survivor isn't describing something that contradicts known facts. She's describing something that fills in the gaps between them. And the gaps are significant because the Epstein files, according to investigators, have only revealed a fraction of what actually happened. Survivors and insiders who have spoken on background consistently describe a Hollywood network that went far deeper than the names already made public. And multiple sources point to the same type of role, a trusted Hollywood face who could open doors, create access, and ensure silence. That is exactly what the journals allegedly describe Kutcher as being a gatekeeper. Someone Epstein trusted to manage Hollywood relationships. Someone who knew who could be brought in and who needed to be kept quiet. The phone call, the fixer, and the witness who was listening. Now we need to talk about something that predates all of this. Something from 2001 that has never fully added up, and that may be the earliest documented example of Ashton Kutcher allegedly operating exactly the way these journals describe. Ashley Ellerin was 22 years old when she was murdered in February 2001. Her killer was never definitively identified to most people's satisfaction, action. A man named Michael Gargiulo was eventually charged and convicted, but the circumstances surrounding Ashton Kutcher's involvement in the events of that night have always raised questions. Here's what Kutcher himself told police. He arrived at Ashley's home to pick her up for a date. He noticed what he thought were wine stains on the floor. He looked through the window, decided she wasn't home, and left. That was his story. He didn't call 911. He didn't call Ashley. He didn't alert anyone. What he allegedly did instead, according to sources who have spoken publicly about this case, was called Danny Masterson.
Instead of leaving, freaked out, calling 911, trying to save anyone's life, he decides that he's scared about his career, is what he tells the police. So he decides he's going to call his best friend, Danny Masterson. Okay, now, he's your best friend, but you didn't know he was a girl at the time? Come on now. Spends an hour on the phone with Danny and his PR team, okay, outside of the apartment. Never moved.
An hour. On the phone with Danny Masterson and a PR team. Outside the apartment of a woman who was already dead. Inside. Not calling police. Not calling emergency services. Calling a PR team. And then, decades later, the story got even more complicated because Masterson had a girlfriend at the time, Chrissy Bixler. And on the night that Kutcher called Masterson, after leaving Ashley Ellerin's apartment, Bixler was there, on speakerphone, listening to the entire conversation.
Did you forget that I was there on speakerphone that night?
Oh boy.
I heard everything that you said. I know the secrets that you and your mentor keep.
She heard everything, and Kutcher had no idea she was listening. That's the moment the entire Ashley Ellerin narrative shifts. Because for years, Kutcher's version of events went largely unchallenged. But if Bixler was on that speakerphone, if she heard what was actually said between Kutcher and Masterson that night, then everything Kutcher told police about his version of events becomes something that can be directly contradicted by a witness. And here's the detail that ties this directly back to the journals and the Epstein connection. The sources who have discussed this case describe Masterson's role that night not just as a friend offering advice, but as someone coordinating a response, contacting people, getting a story straight, finding, in the language used by multiple sources, a fixer. That's the same role the journals allegedly describe Kutcher playing for Epstein. A fixer, someone who manages problems, someone who makes things disappear. The pattern doesn't start with Epstein. According to these allegations, it started much earlier. There is one more chapter in this story that doesn't get enough attention, and it connects Ashton Kutcher to Diddy in a way that goes beyond mutual friendships and shared social circles. It connects them through death. Brittany Murphy was one of the most talented actresses of her generation. Clueless, 8 Mile, Just Married, which she made with Ashton Kutcher. She was vibrant, beloved, and apparently, according to multiple sources, in possession of information that certain powerful people desperately needed to stay buried. She died in December 2009. She was 32 years old. The official cause: pneumonia, iron deficiency, and multiple drug intoxication. Her husband, Simon Monjack, died 6 months later. Same cause of death: pneumonia.
Ashton Kutcher and Diddy before, and they were speaking about Brittany Murphy. And I don't think I ever told this story, and I'm about to tell this story here. While he was married to Demi Moore, he was still sneaking around seeing Brittany Murphy. You understand? We were going to a Nets game, so we picked him up, and he was explaining to Diddy that every time he goes to Brittany's house, paparazzi always catches him or almost catch him coming out her apartment or coming out the building. And Diddy was telling him that's either the doorman or your security. And he was still married to Demi Moore at the time.
So while Kutcher was publicly married to Demi Moore, he was privately maintaining a connection to Brittany Murphy that he clearly didn't want documented. A connection that Diddy apparently knew about in detail. A connection that was creating logistical problems: paparazzi, visibility, risk of exposure. And then Brittany Murphy died. Now Diddy's former partner Kim Porter also died of pneumonia in 2018. She was also reportedly in good health before her sudden death. And according to sources close to the Epstein investigation, Brittany Murphy had allegedly been in contact with authorities about what she knew of the elite network operating through Hollywood.
According to an Epstein survivor, the day Brittany Murphy decided to speak to the authorities about the elite pedophile ring was the day she became a dead woman walking. Because back in the 2000s, the authorities weren't investigating Hollywood's network. No. They were protecting it.
3 people, connected to the same 2 men, dead of the same cause, handled by the same coroner. Ed Winter, who himself passed away last year. Is it proof? No. Is it conclusive? Absolutely not. Kutcher is not a naive man. He has built businesses. He has managed a public image for decades. He has navigated Hollywood politics at the highest levels. When you write a character letter for someone facing rape charges, someone whose accusers have been publicly documented, whose case has been extensively covered, you know exactly what you're doing. You know the risk. You write it anyway.
Do you think Ashton wanted to write those letters and ruin his career? No, but he didn't anticipate on the living girlfriend being over there on speakerphone the night of the conversation, because he still to this day did not know up until he wrote those letters that she was. He wrote those letters for Danny because he had to write those letters for Danny over Ashley Ellering.
He had to. That's the framing that changes everything. Not that he wanted to support a friend, not that he genuinely believed in Masterson's character, but that he was obligated because of what Masterson knew, because of what Masterson had witnessed, because of the speakerphone call, because of the Ashley Ellering night, because of everything documented in those alleged journals. If Masterson goes down quietly, maybe he takes his secrets with him. But if Masterson feels abandoned, if he looks across the room and sees the people who benefited from his silence leaving him to rot, then those journals become leverage. They become insurance. And Kutcher, according to this theory, knew it, so he wrote the letters. He put his name and his reputation on the line for a convicted rapist, because the alternative was potentially far worse. The apology that followed was widely mocked, and for good reason.
Nothing says heartfelt apology like angrily turning the camera off after reading a script your legal team carefully crafted to rescue your careers from the dumpster fire of a celebrity scandal.
That moment, the camera turning off, the stiffness, the scripted delivery, told you everything you needed to know about whether that apology was genuine. It wasn't remorse, it was damage control. And damage control only happens when there's damage you're desperately trying to contain. And now, Ashton Kutcher and the alleged journals, named not as a peripheral figure, not as someone who attended the same parties, named as a gatekeeper, a handler, a recruiter. The question was never really whether Ashton Kutcher knew. The question was always, how deep does it go? And now, with Masterson's alleged journals entering the picture, we may be closer to an answer than at any previous point in this story. The beauty won't save him. According to sources cited in recent reporting, Kutcher is desperate to rehabilitate his image. He's hoping that a role in Ryan Murphy's upcoming series, The Beauty, will signal a Hollywood return. He knows his last film, a 2023 romantic comedy that landed at 31% on Rotten Tomatoes, was a disaster. He knows he and Mila have been quietly excluded from the Hollywood events and circles they used to inhabit without effort. He's reportedly asking friends whether he'll ever be accepted again. A desperate man, a dying career, a list of controversies that keeps growing. And now, Danny Masterson's alleged journals threatening to blow the entire remaining structure sky high. The Beauty might be a great show. Ryan Murphy might give Kutcher the best role of his career. None of it will matter if those journals are verified. None of it will matter if Chrissy Bixler's testimony is formally submitted. None of it will matter if investigators following the Epstein trail arrive at the same destination that multiple independent sources are already pointing toward, because you cannot rebrand your way out of being named as a handler for the most infamous predator in Hollywood history. You cannot apologize your way out of allegedly helping build a network that destroyed lives. You cannot write enough character letters, give enough interviews, or take enough good roles to outrun the documented pattern of associations, decisions, and alleged actions that are now on the public record. Diddy is in a federal cell. Danny Masterson is serving 30 years to life. And Ashton Kutcher, the last member of that inner circle still walking free, is allegedly named in leaked journals as the man who helped make it all possible. The gatekeeper, the handler, the Hollywood face that Epstein used to open doors and close mouths. The emails with Maxwell exist. The coordination around the punked set visit exists. The character letters are public record. The speakerphone call has a witness. The bodyguard testimony is documented. The journal allegations are circulating. This is not a series of unrelated controversies. This is a pattern. And in Hollywood, as we have watched play out in slow motion over the past several years, patterns have a way of eventually catching up with the people who created them. The question isn't whether Ashton Kutcher's past is going to come for him. The question is how much longer he thinks he can stay ahead of it. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the journals are real? Do you think Kutcher gets investigated? And do you think the full story of who ran Hollywood's darkest networks has actually been told yet? Because based on everything we've just covered, we don't think we're even close.